if Summit wants to fix the racing scene, he could be literally the person to do it himself. People will listen to whatever the fuck he wants to say. People will join races if he joins, because we've already seen that happens. If he really wants to make the racing scene good, he needs to get with like Marlo. He needs to get with like Marlo, and they come up to some kind of agreement where Chower, you know, Summit can start enjoying racing more, and people can just jump in on it. Oh god, okay, here we go.
It would be nuts if they added some kind of job for professional racing.
I feel like me and Summit have kind of a similar mindset when it comes to why the racing scene's probably not as good.
Have rich RPers own teams and make it happen. They've tried to do some sort of stuff with racing. Nothing racing related really sticks super well outside of the race scene. Like in regards to like involve the normal population into the race scene. It's like it doesn't really stick, right? They tried to do that that casino thing where people would bet on races and stuff and have like the visuals for everybody and shit. Kind of cool, but didn't really stick.
Well, because
people just aren't really interested in the race.
That's probably because it was only for a select people as well. Like I never saw that. Like we've raced all the time.
Stuff. I don't really know how people are gonna spice it up, but it's not really a popping thing at the moment. The race scene is the race scene. People are in it, but not all the time. Like the last one had 4 drivers, right? Which kind of sucks. Feels bad because that's like that's Tony trying to make it popping, right? Tony wants the racing to be popping. I want the racing to be popping too. To me, in my opinion, the way for that to happen is to find how the really, really good drivers can coexist with the really, really mediocre drivers, right? To me, DNF does a damn good job of doing that. Got to get involved somehow. To me, it's like, I also think it's not a crazy amount of incentive for doing it right now.
We're Gucci for now.
Yeah, that's the big thing. There's not really any incentive. What's the incentive to race other than because you enjoy racing? Which is most people's isn't really a reason for people to race nowadays.
I still think that there's got to be some other ways to get more people involved. Sorry, I was like in my own brain thinking about fucking the race scene. Why don't you go to races?
That would fix everything.
What's your main?
Summit sets up a race and it's fucking 20. What was there? 33 people that one day that someone mentioned. Any other Tom, Dick, and Harry set up a race, he struggled to get 3 people. Summit sets up a race. There's 30 people there.
I put in a lot of time early
on. All of the Chang gang will come and then
pumped hours doing that shit and like
other people see there's like 10 plus people in there and then the more join. It just has a knock-on effect.
It was really cool to set up the B scene, you know, and like kind of do some B races and
B scene won't help.
I just think about that time when I feel like there was a shift in culture with like the way that people race and like.
That's definitely correct.
I mean,
the culture for racing changed dramatically from 2.0 to 3.0.
Competition level obviously increased. Let's put it that way. But like, I feel like it increased in a way that was like.
Spectres are.
I don't know. I think it was a combo of a few things. The culture shift happened when G&E was something that was able to be used to... I feel like you were able to farm it, like, very, very easy.
Well, the one thing, you got to look at it this way. So a lot of the racers say they missed the way that 2.0 races, like, were. But why were 2.0 races better than 3.0 races? That's kind of the question you need to ask. Because in 3.0, you have... There's a lot more incentive to race. You know, you've got G&E, you've got the racing leagues, you've got, you know, more cars, more types of races, more races. You got the app. Like, from 2.0 to 3.0, I actually don't think... When people say that racing used to be popping in 2.0, like, I remember near the end, like, you'd never get, like, plus 10-man races all the time. I think more the start of 3.0 was when it was at its best. But everything was at its best at the start of 3.0, so it's like, well, duh. Like, everything was better at the start of 3.0. But why was everything better at the start of 3.0? That's, you know, you got to ask those questions. What's changed from the start of 3.0 to now with races?
Back in the day. And, like, I feel like when the general population caught on to, like, what was possible. I feel like anytime there's like a monetary, dude, right? For a while, Genie felt like a monetary like loophole. Like you could get rich really easy. And I feel like when those avenues open up for people, it attracts a certain type of people.
I honestly think there should be more reward for racing. Because, like, you'll get... every time you do a race, there's probably about a 70%... There's probably
And,
So, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, more rewards. So, like, at the moment, the G&E's good for winning a race. But is it really worth... Like, I don't know. It's such a weird one. Because, obviously, for me, it is worth it. Like, I love racing. I'll race when there's 4 people at a race. I don't give a shit. But, like, some people will only race when, 1, there's a lot of people racing. 2, the reward or their chances to win are higher. Like,
word got out, you know? I mean, that's really it. I mean, people talk. People, you know, I mean, the racing scene is definitely supposed to be a little more locked down and secretive. You know, I was in a lot of these big meetings with Titanium and, like, I don't know. I just feel like the cat ended up kind of leaving the bag, let's put it that way, and it brought a wave of people that may be racing for the wrong reasons. Like, for me, I grew up with the homies and go race to chill with, like, the people that I fuck with, and I don't know, it's always been, like, fun, laid back, like, whatever. It gets competitive within, like, that group, but
yeah,
like,
but the only difference is now is that group's just a different group. Like, I agree with Chody to some extent, but that still exists. What Chody's talking about still exists, but it's just with a different group of people. It's just with the people that have come over from, like, these racing servers and stuff like that. They all have what Chody's talking about right now, but with their group. And because their group is so good at racing that I think people lie when they say they just go to races. I don't think they lie. I just think they're sometimes, like, most people that go to races, 90% of people go to races. They race to get better. They race because it's fairly competitive, and they want that, like, that. It's like a hobby, isn't it? But you still want to get better at your hobby. You still want to. There's still that competitive, like, nature that still plays into it because it's racing. But yeah, I think what Chody's talking about is just that you know, that social aspect of it is just they don't have it anymore because they don't race anymore. Like, their groups don't race, their friends don't race. It's like a domino effect, isn't it? One of them stops racing, another one stops racing, they complain, you know, because they're losing all the time to these, like, really good racers. But those really good racers that are still got their own groups are still chilling and have what Chody's talking about right now, that social aspect of it. There is.
I don't know, man. Like I said, there's just a level of competitiveness that was, like, kind of, like, beyond what makes it fun for me that kind of hit the racing scene.
So is it like, kind of like, you look at the race and you're like, don't really want to go to that because there's pretty much zero chance of even, like, it being competitive?
See, I'd be very surprised if people have that mindset. That's the wrong mindset right there. I'm hoping Chody says no. I think he will. But that's, like, the wrong mindset to have. To, like, look at the races and be like, okay, that person's there, that person's there, that person's there. They're going to beat me. Like, what's the fucking point of me going? That's a lot of that whole, whether it's either the person with the idea of not going because of those races or the races themselves that are just too good, there is a problem. That is a big problem right there. And it's because it's competitive.
For me?
Well, and the thing is, and, like, this is gonna be me saying, like I'm gonna be real, I can keep up with these dudes. It's not really an issue of that. It's just that sometimes I just want to I want to race and, like, have it be a more relaxed environment. Like, you know what I hate? I hate showing up to a race and, like, 0 people are talking.
Yeah.
Everyone's silent, sitting in their fucking car and just, like, waiting for someone to start something.
I remember back in the
like,
day, we used to set up the races, and we used to start at Maze Bank Arena, and we used to chill at Maze Bank Arena, and we'd be playing music, we'll be chatting, there'll be banter, like, everything would be popping off. Like, there'll be just a big social gathering before a race. I don't think that has well, it doesn't happen because there's not as many people anymore, but I haven't had that for a while.
Whatever, like,
Okay.
well, I like to pull up, get out, maybe shoot the shit a little bit, like,
Yeah, see people you haven't seen in a while.
yeah, 100%, and like, you know, have it be like a thing that just feels like people just hanging out.
Well,
And-
how do you feel about the DNF races? Have you been to one?
I've been to one. They're
I think that, okay, I'm sorry I'm stopping so much, Chad. There's just a lot being brought up. I like the DNF races, but I feel like I can't go to the DNF races. Like, I went to the one the other day, and I was just casually racing, chat. I was just casually racing, and I won the race. And it's like, well, what, am I going to go to the race and just... And you guys saw me, I was doing 360s, like, in the middle of the road while second was behind me. And, like, I was stopping and slowing down for people. Like, I wasn't racing serious at all. And then the next race that got put up was, like... The title of it was, like, beginners in fucking caps lock with exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And, like, they're clearly saying it because, you know, we went to the race and we won the race. So, I'm like, well... The DNF races are good, but it's just the opposite. Did you have a staggered start? Nobody told me I had to have a staggered start. I literally stopped like 3 times in the race, though. I stopped and slowed down 3 times. I did about 360, you know, when you did a spin. Like, I definitely lost a good, like, 30 seconds off my race. So I was, doing stupid shit. A staggered start wouldn't have changed anything. I was still going to win the race. But they're new races, though. So, like, I guess for the DNF races, like, the reason why I went is because I look at the DNF races and there's loads of people racing. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go to these DNF races. But then it's just the same. Like, and I'm not one of these, like, try hard, like, stick racers. I'm literally, like, been racing since the fucking start of when, like, you know, when racing was popping in 2.0. And, like, I'm just here for the same fucking reason that most of the other people are there for. But I like the ideas of the DNF races, but it just means that, yeah, I'd have to race, like, a van. Like, not a van. I'd have to race another car, or like a local car or something. That's maybe what it is. Maybe we should just race a local car. But then what if I fucking... Like, the problem is if you race a local car and you're winning a local car, it's even worse because people get, like... It's... Yeah. Like, the DNF races... I'm not going to go to any more DNF races. I'm never going to a DNF race again. But that's not because, like... I don't want... You know... They're new races, so... But the problem is that the DNF race is the only ones that are fucking popping right now. So I'm like, we're, like, stuck in, like, this weird loophole where it's like, well, we can't set up a normal race because nobody fucking joins, and if I go to the DNF races, we win and then get judged. So
better.
It's like no NOS, and then good racers have like a delay start.
Oh, is that what he's talking about? Well, they never even mentioned that. I didn't know how to have a delayed start. They didn't say anything.
Correct when it comes to...
Not that it would have changed anything
the
anyway.
vibe, right? But just the sheer fact is...
And none of the other good races in that races that did a delayed start either. None of them did, because AP was there. AP was in front of me, and he didn't have a staggered start.
There's fucking 200 plus million people in the city now. Like, there's bound to be more people that want to take part in these activities and shit. So, when you're catering to more people, I think DNF is doing it right because they have a little bit of regulation around, like, the way that their races are run, and it's less so left up for interpretation. And to be honest, I think it's a good thing because I feel like the city needed somebody to kind of, like, start putting the proper vibe out,
In the racing.
given kind of where things were, you know? So
Yeah, I gotcha.
DNF races are good. We fuck with those.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of DNF races because it's more accommodating for, like, people that aren't as good at racing. But the vibe's still the fucking same. It's still the same vibe. You go to the race, everyone's kind of chilling there, standing around. It's just the exact same vibe. It's just more open for beginner races, which is good because you know, people do need that. We need new races to start joining, get better, and then eventually the normal races will pull over some of these old, you know, these newer races that are getting better, and then they'll come and jump in with the crowd. So it's good there. It's like a stepping stone, isn't it? But yeah, it doesn't really help the current people that race all the time, really. Yeah, be good for some family members, yeah.
So you see a DNF race go up, and there's a possibility you'll be like, okay, maybe I'll go to this.
Yeah, if it's not 20 fucking people deep.
You know, so 20... the more people, the worse for you?
Yeah,
definitely not that.
I'm kind of like, what keeps me from the races is how little people there are.
Yeah,
like,
I'm the same
with
like Summit. I want like a 30-man race.
Single time.
Let's go.
Especially nowadays, because you can. Okay. Well, nowadays it doesn't affect it as much because if you want to have that, no collision, for instance, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't really affect it at all. It's just you just jamming out and seeing how well you do against other people. They don't affect you in any way besides, like, if they, like, are fireballing locals at you, you know?
Yeah.
Which, you know, that happens.
I mean, okay, so, yeah, it's better with that. It's better with the no phasing, but
and hosting different staggered races around
other people have headaches and stuff, and, like, I feel like when you have, like, a big fucking race, sometimes, you know, some wild shit happens just because of brains and stuff. I guess that was my issue in the past, but
okay.
I haven't really been in a lot of like big races since the phasing stuff. Bro, you have to keep in mind, you're talking to someone that like in the beginning of 19.3.0, I would race every day, at least like 6-7 races. Like I was deep in it. Like I was setting records on tracks. I was fucking smoking people constantly.
Guys, is there a bit of we see a little bit of you know what I'm saying earlier on about it is competitive. He was racing 6 races a day. He was getting new records. He was smoking people. The good races come in. He's not doing that anymore. Probably doesn't enjoy racing as much. But there's nothing wrong about that. It's competitive. Racing is competitive. But I wish some more people would be more like honest about it. People be just honest with the fact that they just don't like the fact that they're not winning as much or like they're not doing as good. And I think that's why DNF is good. Like these other races, like there should be like, I wish there was like a public league for racing, like a public rating. I think this would do wonders, chat. But then again, I don't know if adding another mechanic into racing is probably a good thing. But like a public rating. So instead of like it being class orientated, it can be class orientated as well still, so car class. But there's also, you have a racing rating as well. So then you open up a racer rating, you're like, I don't know, the racing, you know, personal racing ratings go from A to fucking Z. Z being the best, A being the best, Z being the worst. And yeah, like Uber, yeah. How do you rate elo? Yeah, like a in-game elo system. So like exactly like what Marlow does with the chess rating that he does for the leagues, but that's in-game. So you race a race. I beat Goofy in a race. My rating's gonna go up. I lose to, I don't know, Mr. Joe Blogs, who's new to racing. My rating goes down. Do you know what I mean? Like there's that hidden elo. Well, maybe not. It wouldn't even be hidden. It would be public. That public elo that you have in racing on the app, and then when you set up a race, you're put in against racers. Actually, no, because I guess it's like SBMM, isn't it? It would be. I think that would be good, but it would just limit things more again, wouldn't it? There's more limitations to who you can race with. Leaderboards typically bring more grinders to mechanics in games. So yeah, but those people that are grinding racing, those people are really good at racing, will be at the top. So they'll only be racing against the top racers. Whereas it would literally have like an inbuilt mechanic which makes DNF races possible. Because people that are low elo or low or new to races would come into the scene and they'd be put up against either low elo people or other new races in the scene. So it was still competitive, but they still had the chance to get better. And then same with like me and Charles and then Chody. Like there'll be a skill-based cap for everybody that was in that race, that everybody that was going to be in that race. So it was always competitive. There's always that chance of you. There's always that chance of you winning, but it's obviously going to be, you know, I don't know. I'm just spitballing, chat. I think it'd be interesting though. It'd be interesting to see how it worked.
Yes,
if it was
and
possible.
doing very well. And
yeah, exactly, Ricky. That's the problem.
I turned myself off from the whole scene, dude, when things got like crazy. Like there was like a period where
Problem is there's just not enough people in the time to kind of do that.
Like it goes back to what I said. There's a lot more people in this scene now, and a lot of opinions clashing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of styles clashing, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, right?
Well, I remember, for instance, we used to run like try not to curb boost type of thing, and now it's like Raceline City, right? It's like that whole jam is out the fucking window, which, you know, I kind of agree with, because you can't really enforce it. You know what I'm saying? It's not really, no curb boost is not really an enforceable thing.
I remember that, no curb boosting.
Because also we don't see the same things that someone else might see. In our eyes, they might be curb boosting. In their eyes, they might be perfectly in the lane and not touching them.
So I kind of agree with just like leave that whole jam open, but that does create some insanely weird race lines.
Yeah,
oh man,
it really does.
Yeah.
I
was just thinking about because it's like, I love boosting, a lot of fun, but I'm looking for something in between. I'm just like, I'm missing one thing, and it's usually racing. And I've tried to fill the void with other stuff, but it just seems like the fucking stupid casino, for instance, and it just doesn't really do it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like racing does. I like racing in the city. It's just I kind of feel a similar way to you feel, where it was.
I'll be honest, chat. If somebody wants to fix the racing scene, he could be literally the person to do it himself. People will listen to whatever the fuck he wants to say. People will join races if he joins, because we've already seen that happens. If he really wants to make the racing scene good, he needs to get with like Marlo. He needs to get with like Marlo, and they come up to some kind of agreement where Chower, you know, Summit can start enjoying racing more, and people can just jump in on it. Because that's how the city fucking works nowadays. Like Summit fucking sets up a race, there's 30 people on the race, and everyone's like afterwards like, oh my god, that was amazing. It's like, well, you can do that any time of the fucking day, but you don't. Do you know what I mean? We set up races. I have a race open all day, and like 3 people will join.
I always liked casual racers to come through and always have the opportunity to take a dub, you know what I'm saying, or place well, or have a good clean race and do well, you know what I'm saying. And I do think it got a little too serious at some point in time, especially once the sticks got a little bit more heavily introduced around the scene. And
yeah, I agree with that. I think racing just got way too competitive. Like, yeah, the racing scene's always gonna be competitive, but you need that like that middle ground where it's not too competitive, where people are taking people aren't taking it so serious that using every single little advantage that they can. That's where racing is right now, is that everybody's finding every single little thing to make them better and like enforcing it, and then everybody else does it, and then it's the next thing, and then it's the next thing, and it's instead of it just about racing for the fun competition, they're racing because they're being super. It's their role play. That's another, I think, big problem as well. I think there's a lot of people that are in the racing scene that most of their stories and most of their arcs are based entirely around the racing scene, which means that because that's their only arc, they're gonna take it super fucking seriously, and they're gonna be very competitive, and they're gonna try and be the best that they possibly can.
So yeah, that sort of thing.
And I can float both ways on that. Like, dude,
I think race crews might have caused some of the issues. I don't think race crews helped.
I tested myself a few times back when it was like a big controversy, and I can
just create bubbles in the racing scene. It's like bubbles. Back when racing was popping, there weren't no bubbles in the racing scene. Everybody would be a part of the racing scene. Like all of the racers would come together rather than having their little race crews, their little bubbles.